Support for the Couples Council comes from Mercier Wellness and Consulting. Their purpose is to equip you with the right skills for a happy and healthy relationship. Services available in office or virtual. Schedule your consultation now. For more information, visit mercierwellness.com. Mercier Wellness and Consulting. Small steps, big changes.
This podcast is not a substitute for therapy. Please consult a licensed professional for your mental health needs.
Now on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Couples Council. I'm your host, Dr. Jameson Mercier, the Love Mender. My co-host, Herdyne Mercier, the wife mentor, is not here tonight. But that is quite all right. She's got some things that she's working on. We're looking forward to letting you know about some of these things. So if you've not already subscribed, please go ahead wherever you get your podcasts and make sure you subscribe so you can get the latest information. There is a spoiler alert. If you have not seen the documentary FYRE Festival, right? About the FYRE Festival with McFarland and Ja Rule and all of them, you might want to stop listening to this episode right now. If you have plans to watch it, you may want to stop because we're talking about it. I'm going to give all the juice. Well, maybe not all of it, just what's relevant to what I'm talking about. So, again, if you have any intentions of watching that documentary, and there's another one on Hulu as well, just stop listening. Go back and listen to any of the other episodes, or go watch it and then come back and listen to this, right? Because what we're about to talk about will make a lot more sense if you've seen the documentary. So, you've been warned. Spoiler alert. The title for today's episode is How to Protect Your Marriage from the FYRE Effect. Because just how those guys found themselves in a very, very compromising situation, and when I say we, I'm talking about people in marriages, people in relationships. If we're going to tell the truth, we often find ourselves in situations that are just as compromising, just as bad, and we wake up and we have no idea how we let something get this far. You know, we say to ourselves, wow, why didn't anybody say anything to me? Or maybe we're the type of people who just live in denial and we look around like, what? It wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could do about it, right? I'm sure you fit in one of those categories, as I know I do. I have, and sometime in the future, I probably will. How to protect your marriage from the FYRE effect. Now, this documentary is something that came across my radar. You know, Netflix will recommend stuff for you based on what you've watched, but I feel like they was recommending it to everybody. And so Herdyne was watching it, and I walked in and I was like, yo, I've been meaning to catch this. I watched it from where she was watching it, and then I went back and watched the whole thing again. So I watched it like twice because this was just so fascinating to me. Now, in their defense, these guys, they're not idiots. They had a good idea. The plan was to use this festival to promote a booking, some kind of booking app to book celebrity acts, music, and whatever other acts they were trying to book. That is not a bad idea. If anything, that is a genius idea. Okay, because if you've ever tried to hire anybody, you know, be it a celebrity or a clown for your kid's birthday party, it can be a bit of a hassle. So they had a problem. They noticed a problem and they had a solution. So I take my hat off to them for that, right? Kudos for being problem solvers. Where they fell off the wagon, it seems like beyond that, after that point, it all just went downhill. And I'm watching this and I'm saying to myself, please don't tell me what I think. I think I know what's going to happen. Please don't. And sure enough, it happens. Doing too much, over promising, under delivering, just all kind of foolishness, right? You saw it, you know. And so let's take some of those lessons, pick them up and place them on your marriage. Now, it doesn't matter if you are dating. It doesn't matter if you are a newlywed. It doesn't matter if you've been together 20 years, right? These things that we're about to discuss, there is relevance for everyone. So, how to protect your marriage from the fire effect. And when we're talking about the fire effect, we're talking about like totally crashing and burning, right? That's what these guys did. They totally crashed and burned. They had a beautiful start, a beautiful, amazing start, created a whole lot of buzz and excitement, but they just crashed and burned, which is a lot like marriages. If we'll be honest, hell, we don't have to be honest. It's the reality. A lot of marriages start out beautifully. You hear me? They start out with beautiful music, beautiful backdrops, tons of high resolution photos, horse and carriages. I mean, like you name it, the Cinderella story, whatever the case is, right? That is how a lot of marriages start out. But for many of them, for many marriages, after the wedding, they crash and burn. They are unable to capitalize on the potential. They're unable to capitalize on the momentum. For whatever reason, they're not able to sustain, to maintain, and continue to thrive. And there are some very real reasons why that happened. Let's just get into number one right now, right? To keep your marriage, right? To protect your marriage from the fire effect. I want to tell you, do not get greedy. Do not be greedy. What do I mean by do not be greedy, right? Wanting too much for your marriage, doing too much. When I talk to young people, they say doing the most. We jeopardize our marriages when we try to do too much. I sometimes will say too much too soon. Okay. And if you're in a new marriage, and my definition of a new marriage is 3 to 5 years, right? You're really new. If you're in a new marriage, we'll say too much too soon, but you could be in a marriage 10, 15, 20 years, and then you get greedy and you want to do too much. And your marriage is unable to sustain what it is that you're trying to do. Your marriage may not be designed. It may not be set up for what you are trying to do. Now, this could include moves. This could include buying a house. This could include plans. Buying a house is a popular one. It's a common one. I'll even tell you, it was one of those traps that my wife and we fell into, right? We were married. As a matter of fact, before we got married, we had already started building our house. We bought it in pre-construction, and we take pictures and you just live in the life. Back then we didn't have pictures on our phones. We actually had to take it, go develop it. But it's the same thing. The burden of a new house, or the burden of, let's say, having kids, if you don't have them, or if you want more kids, or any kind of other responsibility you think you might want to put on your marriage, you really have to investigate and you really have to think about it. Is it something that your marriage can handle? Is it something that you and your spouse, you and your partner will be able to bear that responsibility, right? Can you do it? And why are you doing it is always a good question to ask. Because I can tell you right now, when we bought our house, before we were married, it was just what you did. You dated, you went to college, when you graduated, you got married, And then as a married couple, you move out of the apartment and you buy a house. That is the story that we bought into. And like I'm telling you now, right? It was something that taught us some big lessons. Okay, so that's number one, doing too much. You remedy that, right? You resolve that by keeping your marriage lean. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. But keeping your marriage lean, doing what your marriage can handle, can sustain, won't overwhelm you, by not doing too much. Number two, listen to the experts. Listen to the experts. Hear me repeat it one more time. Listen to the experts. In the documentary, these guys were consulting with the top talent for events, coordinating, meals, logistics. They had them all on staff or on payroll or on retainer, whatever the case is. They had them. They had hired them, right? This is why I don't say hire experts. No. I say listen. Listen to the experts. They hired them, but they did not listen to them. One guy even told them, they said, hey, what you're trying to do is not feasible. And if you're trying to push it, if you're going to force it at the rate that you're trying to do it, you need to double your budget. They looked at the guy and they were like, you don't know what you're talking about. No, thank you. You know what? We're going to go without you. We can figure it out. And you're like, what is going on here? I'm sitting and I'm watching this and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right? That's like hiring Mr. Home Depot, right? And he's telling you, yo, this house is not going to stand. You need this. And you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's like LeBron James coaching you. And you're like, you know what? You know what, Bron? I know you've done a little bit of this, but I think I know what I'm doing. What is going on? Right? They did not listen to anyone. It is like you could not give them any bit of advice. Now, call it ego, call it stupidity, call it what you want. But a lot of us are the same way. And these things play out in our marriages and in our relationships. I'm not even talking specifically to those who will never consider going to a counselor, right? There are those of you who go to counselors and don't listen. You make the appointment. You either take time off work or you leave your house. You cancel plans and you see a therapist, a marriage counselor, and you sit and you engage and you learn and you do exercises and you explore, you dig deep. And it's like when you walk out of the office, you say, that's all nice, but we're going to do it this way. You know, maybe we'll think about what he said, but we're going to do it our way. Guys, it does not make any sense to do that. Now, I have no problem seeing your beautiful faces and talking to you for an hour or 2 or 3, whatever it is you decide to do, whether it's in the office or whether you decide you want to schedule a virtual session. I have no problem with that. I'm in my element when I'm doing my work. I'm in the zone. In Creole, we say I'm in my bol graisse, right? I'm in my sauce. So it's not a problem for me. But if you're going to make the investment, I don't know why you won't even just consider implementing some of what you're taught. Just see if it'll work. You know, the same way these guys figured they had it all figured out. They were going to make it work. And it did not. That's what happens to marriages. And then, you know, marriage counselors and therapists, they get blamed for not fixing, right? Quote unquote, for not fixing people's marriages. Then they're blamed and saying, well, listen, what's the point of going? People end up divorced all the time. Well, listen, ask them, hey, what are they doing with the information that they were given? And I'll just add, my job is not to keep people together, by the way. I tell everyone that my job is not to be so vested in keeping you together, because truth be told, some people are married to people that they knew going down the aisle they should not be marrying. Hello, somebody. There are people who are going down the aisle tomorrow, or who went down the aisle yesterday. In their mind, they're like, I really should not be doing this. And they've been told as much, but they are going to proceed as planned. And we just kind of have to sit back like a movie, watch it like a documentary, and wait for things to happen. Now, do I hope marriages crash and burn? No, because the truth is, and we actually learned this in the previous episode. If you did not hear it, listen, you got to go back and check that one out with Patrice Washington and Gerald Washington. God can restore any marriage. But sometimes, y'all, we just give God a lot of work to do. Give the guy a break. Okay? That's a little church humor. Forgive me. Don't crucify me. But you got to listen to the experts, right? Otherwise, you can't blame them. You can't even mention them, right? Sitting in my office is not enough. You actually need to implement what you're given, the strategies and the skills that you are taught. Number 3, you often hear people talking about, when you're in a marriage or you're in a relationship, you need to stay in your lane. Okay. And Herdyne and I, we talk about this quite often, actually, because you can't help but notice other people's marriages. You can't help but notice how other people are living. And the next step, natural step for a lot of people is just to say, let me just compare, right? We don't even say that. We just do it naturally. If you've been wanting to take a vacation or a cruise and you've been unable to, and then your friends posting their pictures and selfies, you're like, oh man, why can't we? So it's natural. So I don't even say stay in your lane anymore. What I tell you is to get off the damn road, because some people don't even need to be on the road. Okay. Metaphorically speaking, if you're in your lane, you can't help but notice the other cars, and some cars are passing you fast. Some cars are slow. Some cars are stopped, and you will compare. You will compare. For some of you, you cannot handle seeing it. For some of you, it's better for you to not even be exposed to some things. It's just not. It is better for you to act like you never saw it, right? Because you can't unsee what you've already seen. I was going to say sawed. You can't unsee it, right? And then you take that into your marriage and you start comparing. Now, all these people who paid all this money to go to this FYRE festival that never happened, they were trying to have this experience that they can brag about. Some of them, if they're honest, will tell you they can make their friends jealous, or they were jealous previously and now they want something for themselves, right? That kind of mentality is a dangerous, dangerous game that we play, guys. Especially when we're talking about in our marriages and in our relationships with your spouse, with your partner. Just don't do it. A simple way is just, whose social media feeds are you following, right? And when they show up, what does it do to you? What does it do to you emotionally? What does it do to you psychologically? Do you feel like saying, oh man, why can't I? When will I? I remember someone saying, do you ever feel like other people are getting the shine or the credit that you feel like you deserve? If that is what's happening to you, you might need to get your butt off the road, not even stay in your lane. Like, just get off, pull over, because the more you expose yourself to that, the more you do that to yourself, you are creating problems within your relationship. You are setting yourself up for some serious issues down the line. Now, at the heart of this, we're talking about something called FOMO, right? FOMO, right? FOMO, and it's a common acronym, right? Fear of missing out. When you see someone, groups of people, other people doing things that you either have wanted to do for yourself or are planning to do for yourself, it's natural for you to be like, oh, that's nice. But when you feel like, if I don't do this, I'm missing out on blank, whatever it is, that's dangerous. And for many of us, we automatically make that calculation. I'm missing out on whatever. And again, if we place this in your marriage, okay, if we're talking about in your marriage, you see things and you feel like, you're missing out on what? Happiness, intimacy, a sex-filled marriage, what? What it is, because that's what's driving you to do these things. But listen, guys, this is a dangerous thing, because in the documentary, the FOMO that kicks in for people following these social media influencers, it's all fake. Yeah, listen, it's all fake, right? Listen, I'm on social media. I play with it. I get on, I get off. I see people. I throw my emojis out there. I share pictures. I share videos. And sometimes I say to myself, am I contributing to this problem? I hope I'm not, but that's more of an internal conflict within myself. But I recognize that this is a much larger system, and some people are they are damaging their lives and ruining their relationships based on this system that is being manipulated to control you. And I'm not being all conspiracy minded, but this is kind of how social media works. The FYRE Festival, the people that were pushing and promoting, they weren't just organically doing that. There were people who were being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make you feel like you have to be there or else you were missing out. Do you hear what I'm telling you? People are being paid to present something to you that will make you feel like you have to be there so you do not miss out. You have to understand that. This is, marketing. This is targeting. This is just the way this system is working, and being able to get this look behind the scenes of how all of this happens and how certain people pick things up and put things out and what that does to people. FOMO is a big thing. It makes other people very, very rich. And at the end of it all, what do you have to show for it? We have to get a grip on that. We have to handle that. We have to know why we're here. Okay? We have to know what our purpose is, particularly the purpose for your marriage, the purpose for your relationship, okay? The purpose for your family, okay? It needs to be something that is clear for you, your spouse, your kids, your like the people in your lives, this stuff needs to be clear, because the same way this FYRE festival never took off, right? We're talking about promising people luxury villas. We're talking about promising people fine dining. The reality is, when all was said and done, all they had for people were leftover FEMA tents and sandwiches. That is the reality, which is sad, because a lot of money switched hands back and forth in that whole process. Similarly, in your marriage, there's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of energy going back and forth. What do you have to show for it? After it's all said and done, what do you have? Right? You gotta think about that. It's these kinds of things that create, if I have to be completely honest, that hurt me for some of my clients, right? Because we're caught up in this system. We don't understand it. And we can lose our relationships for foolishness. And it does not have to be that way. Okay? So just a quick recap. Do not get greedy. Number one, as far as your marriage is concerned, do not get greedy, meaning do not try to do too much. Do not try to take on more than your relationship can handle. Number two, listen to the experts. Okay? Say it with me. Listen to the experts. And we're all guilty of trying to DIY things, right? But at some point, you have to recognize that maybe you need to listen to the experts. You've tried it on your own. You've tried to put some tape on it, and it ain't working. Listen to the experts. Do what they are telling you to do. Okay? And number three, lastly for number three, get off the road, right? Not just, we're no longer saying stay in your lane. Okay? But get off the road. Maybe you need to be on a different road, right? You can be in your lane, but on the wrong highway. Maybe you need to be on a little scenic route. Maybe you need to be on a little pebble street. I don't know. I do not know. Maybe you shouldn't even be driving. Maybe you should be walking. It's not a race. I often like to say we all get there. Eventually, we all get to the same place. There's no need. There's no rush. Okay? And FOMO is real, but the fact of the matter is you are not missing out on anything. You do not need to worry you're missing out on something, because you are not missing out on anything. Okay? If you could see behind the scenes of some of the relationships and couples and vacations and marriages that you are envious of, if you could see behind the scenes, you would be grateful for your situation. So again, you are not missing out on anything. Be grateful for the issues that you have in your marriage, because you are not missing out on anything. So, guys, that's all I have for you tonight. Next time, Herdyne will be on with me. Let me hear from you. Give me some feedback about today's episode. A lot of you have given us some great feedback, some honest feedback, that's how we want it. Let us know if this has been beneficial for you via our social media. Of course, Dr. Jameson Mercier on all social media channels, The Wife Mentor. And as always, guys, mercierwellness.com is where you could find everything you need. We're on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts, a bunch of others. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for telling your friends. And Herdyne and I, we look forward to having you here for another episode of the Couples Council.
Hey everybody! Thank you for listening to our mom and dad.
If you like them as much as we do, then click subscribe and leave a comment. But now they have to go because it's family time.
So go practice what you heard, and we'll catch you on the next episode.